How long does it take to get your first deal done when you're using Facebook ads in order to find motivated sellers as a real estate wholesaler? That is a question that I'm going to answer for you here today. It's a very common question. It's actually the wrong question, but fear not. I'm going to tell you what the right question to ask is, and we'll get you the answer that you're looking for. And I'm going to do this with a case study. And again, my name is Cris Chico, and I help real estate investors escape the cold calling penitentiary. And that is my goal here for you today. Is I want to help you do that. And what we're going to be doing is discussing a recent case study that we had with a client, in which we were able. He just put a property in the contract for to make $15,000. And this is always the nicest notification that I could ever see coming through, which is an assignment of contract that is signed, which means that we not only put a property in the contract, but we were successfully able to find a buyer. And of course, the only other thing that is better than this is when we get a wire notification. But we're going to have to make do for now on this one here. So now this was the deal that the client made. And again, what we're doing here, just for context sake, we are using online marketing in order to generate motivated sellers. We're using Facebook predominantly. We also use TikTok, and we also use Google ads. And by Google ads, I just don't mean pay-per-click. If you're familiar with Google in terms of advertising for motivated sellers, we use performance max, demand gen campaigns, and other type of campaign types. So we're really at the cutting edge. And what we're doing here is we're doing ads across generally 15 to 20 states. This particular campaign was a nationwide campaign. And I'll explain to you the reasons why it was a nationwide and not a state campaign. I'm going to put here not a state, and why is that? I don't want to forget that. And so we're running campaigns all across the country. And so then we're doing deals nationwide. All of the deals are done virtually without ever having to personally go and inspect the properties, meet the owners, and many times in small towns we've never heard of, which was the case with this one here. Now, this particular campaign, now I'm going to give you what happened here, and I'm going to give you some asterisks here because I don't want you to walk away thinking, oh, this is exactly what my result is going to be. There's a lot of variables with this with our strategy. But I'll walk you through those variables, and then that way you have a good idea in terms of what you can expect for you. So in this particular campaign, the client, what we do, we set up the campaigns, we run the campaigns. The client will then call all the leads. We then tell, if you're the client, we give you advice in terms of what to offer on the property, what we feel is the right price. On this particular deal, client came on to our daily office hour calls. I was the one that actually analyzed the deal on that particular day. And, seller, I think, was asking maybe $100,000 or so. And we were able to get the property down to the right number so that we can go ahead and make a deal happen. So the total amount spent on this particular campaign was $297.98 for generated 17 leads at an average cost per lead of $17 per lead, which is a very affordable cost per lead when you consider that many times when you're doing advertising on Google, for example, or Google search, if you're doing nationwide Google search, it's going to be maybe about $80 or $100. If you are local, then that number is going to go up dramatically. The reach and impressions. So the reach is the number of individual users on the platform that were shown the ad. So 1,500 people were shown the ad. The impressions were 2421. That means the total number of people. Total number of times that those people were shown the ads. So, for example, in this scenario, that means that, because you have 1,500 individual users and 2,400 times that an ad was shown, that means that some of the people saw the ad more than once. And the CPM is just what Facebook charges you in order to show your ad. And this is on a CPM basis. Actually, I just realized that for this particular client, if you notice, it says CA. They're in Canada. So this particular client lives in Canada and is doing deals here in the U.S., which is a pretty cool thing, if you ask me. This is in Canadian dollars. So it's $297.98 in Canadian dollars. That would translate to $212 in U.S. So that's how much he has spent. And in terms of cost per lead, he is spending $17 Canadian, 17 Canadian dollars. And so that means that it is $12.50 US. So he's paying $12.50 per lead. So let's take a look at the campaign here. Now you can see here we have two templates. So when we create the campaign, we create templates and duplicate the templates so that we always have the templates available to use later. And so this campaign was a nationwide campaign. Now there's a reason why it was nationwide. And the reason why it was nationwide is because the budget was low. The budget on this was $20 a day. So if we're doing a $20 per day budget, which is about $600 per month, in order to get enough leads coming in through the door, we've got to have it be a nationwide campaign. Now, we do run campaigns that are statewide that will get a pretty good cost per lead. But in this scenario, to get $12 leads, that's very difficult if we're only targeting, say, 15 or 20 states. Here, we're targeting the entire country. So now we're able to get more leads for the money. Now, sometimes people say, hey, if you're targeting the US, aren't I going to get a bunch of crap leads? The answer is not necessarily, because this particular lead, and actually the client has two other deals under contract that we're actively trying to sell right now. But we're only talking about this one here in particular. This was located in a fairly populated area. It was within, 10 minutes of a major metro. So it's not necessarily the case. But if you're on a low budget, then you want to start off nationwide. We also use lead forms. That's Facebook's own internal system of collecting the data. You could send the traffic, or you can send the prospects to your landing page, but that creates another layer of complication, because what happens is that you now need to have a converting landing page. You need to have other integrations to tie in your landing page into your CRM. But most importantly, the landing page has to convert. And if you have a website, and most websites that I see from real estate investors are not that great, that means that you're going to end up losing money, because you're going to end up spending so much per lead because the website isn't going to convert. And so for Facebook, we generally use lead forms. Now, that's not the case if we're doing YouTube. If we're doing Google, such as Google Demand Gen, Performance Max, or YouTube. But that's for a different video here. We're only staying with Facebook. Now, when we create the campaigns, we have two different type of ad sets inside of the campaign. One is no interest, one is all interest. So we take all these different interests, Zillow, home equity, etc., put them all into one. And then we have one ad set here that has nothing for Facebook to go on other than the geography, which is nationwide. However, Facebook will read the text of the ads, and then they will be able to determine the prospect that you're looking for. So the interests are not necessarily required. We do this because it just mitigates. It allows us to make sure that whatever campaigns we run always have leads. You can see that 6 leads came from no interest, 11 came from the all interest. Cost per lead on the no interest was 11. This one was all interest was 21. Again, that is in Canadian. And so if we look at that number, cost per result, $11 is very cheap. That is $7.84 a lead. Listen, if you're still cold calling when you can get good leads for $7, you got a problem. You got a problem, not us. All right, so I'm going to give you an idea of how the leads come in, because a lot of times people wonder, you get leads every day. So you'll notice that campaign got turned on here. This campaign ran for about 14, 15 days. This one here, we have on the 3rd here, that was when the campaign started. No leads came in. And then on the other 2 days, 2 leads came in here. No lead here, 1. Then you had 3 days where no leads came in, but we still allowed that campaign to run because it was still within KPI, and we had additional leads coming in. So you'll have that daily fluctuation, and where Facebook is continually trying to optimize, trying to find the right audience. And we don't want to just jump the gun on these type of campaigns. Besides, we're running them at a fairly low budget. So, it's not as if you're running a campaign at $100, $200, $300 a day, where, if you don't have leads for 2 or 3 days, then you're out quite a significant amount of money. Now, this is a screenshot, and I'll show you what these look like, of where the leads came from. So we put into the ad set, which is what you saw here, no interest at all and all interest. We put in here a combination of images and a combination of videos. And what happens is Facebook sometimes we'll have all the conversions on the videos, which is the ones here below, and sometimes we'll have all the conversions on the actual on the images. In this scenario, all the conversions except I think but one came in from the images. So the images really pulled the weight on this. That's not the case on every campaign. I can take this campaign, duplicate it, and then the complete opposite could be true. Now, if we scroll through here, you'll see that, like, for example, if we look at this one here with the red and the yellow had 3 leads. This one had 1. This one had 1. And then here, in this particular one, this little yellow one here, and I'll show you what that looks like, had 5 leads. This one had 2, and this one did not get any leads. And then we had this black image here. So what do these look like? This is what they look like. You can see here. Let me go down a little bit. Let me see here. Okay. See if we can show you. That's the house. This was created using Canva, canva.com. The image is a house, and that came from Canva. Canva has an image library. And then this here, I believe that house was a real house. I think that's one of the properties that we had sold at some point. I kind of thought it was, just pick that. Then this here is again created by Canva. You'll notice that these are quite ugly. This is again a very simple ad you can create. Black. I mean, it's ugly. I mean, this is an ugly ad. It's not going to win any awards, but you know what? We're not looking to win any awards. We're looking to make some money. And this one, of course, that was created by me. Combination of, I did it on Canva, got the grass on Canva, the skies on Canva, everything. All this was created by yours truly. I am an artiste. Not only am I a great real estate marketer, wholesaler, but I am an artiste. This is a sample of the headlines. Let's one sample headline: Sell your home without the hassle. No repairs, no agents. Search results. Some emojis there. And then in terms of the body copy, with the first sentence really being the most important when it comes to the body copy of the ads. And then, as you can see here, emojis, and then just talking about the different benefits and the things that they can avoid when they sell the property to us. So we typically load the ads up with three headlines and 3 of these body copies as well. And so let's talk about the numbers here, because this is really, really important. And when you look at this, I mean, if we go back here and we see here that a deal was just signed for $15,000 gross assignment fee. All right. And the total spent was $297 Canadian. So actually, that's about $212. So that, I would say, is definitely on the more favorable side of the metrics. So let's walk through this here so I can show you what I mean by that. Number one is that question I get asked all the time is, how long will it take to do a deal? And it's not the right question to ask. The right question to ask it's never a time question. It's always a lead number question. It's always how many leads it's going to take to do a deal. And then now your budget affects the time around that. Meaning, let's say that if I told you we're going to work off a number in this particular scenario with this particular client, the total number of leads generated was 17. So that was on the low side. I typically will tell clients 50 leads in order to get a deal. 50. So 50 leads, let's say that you had a budget and you were only generating 30 leads that month because your budget was really low. So that means that now it's going to take you potentially to month 2 in order to get a deal done. But again, that depends on where you're at with regards to the leads. All right. So hold that thought for a minute, because I have a few other points to make, and then I'm going to bring that all together. Now, let's talk about this here. All right. So that's number one. It's not an issue of how long it's going to take to get a deal. It's how many leads does it take. So general guidelines, I say 50 leads to get a deal if our average cost per lead is $30 per lead. So again, if you notice, I'm working off of worst case scenario numbers. And so, because I'd rather you have a better result and expect worse, but get a better result. because you could see that our cost per lead is significantly less. But let's just say 50 times 30 is $1,500 that we would spend in order to make 15,000. That's a 10 times ROI on our money. Meaning, if these were your numbers, 50 leads in order to get a deal at $30 a lead, and you spend 1,500, but you made 15,000. A lot of people in our industry would kill for those numbers. I know guys and gals that are running PPC and they're spending $3,500, $4,000 in order to get a deal done. Now so that's a lot of money. Especially now, the ROI is still good and their experience, but if you're brand new in the business, it's gonna be very difficult for you to spend that kind of money up front in order to find a deal. You'll go broke. So that's why I believe that if you're brand new in the business, you should be doing Facebook ads and TikTok. You should be doing specifically, start with Facebook, then TikTok. And Facebook has a lot of volume. So you could stay on Facebook for a while. And even if you're experienced and you're doing pay-per-click advertising, you should consider bringing in Facebook into the fold. Now, we have clients that do better. Obviously, I showed you this particular client. He did better. So what is the difference? How can you get these numbers to be better? Well, you got to sound good on the phone. I always say you can't sound like you got a paper, like you got a sock in your mouth. That's not good. They are also after their leads. By that, I mean as that the lead comes in, and the first 24 to 48 hours that a lead comes in, you got to be on point with that lead. You got to go after them like it's you because after 2 days they've forgotten about this, that they filled out a form or somebody else has gotten to them. So you got to be aggressive with your follow-up. I recommend that you email your leads, that you send them a text message saying, for example, hey John, hi John, this is Cris with National Property Buyer. I just got your information about the property that you're looking to sell, as an example. And the reason you say, hi, John, this is Cris, is because now when you then call that person, if they're on an iPhone, it might say, is this Cris? Or maybe it says your name and maybe. I forget how it shows up now. A little bit of a brain fart. But so you want to be after those leads, meaning you want to be aggressive in terms of getting a hold of them. And with our clients, that are in our program, we hold daily office hour calls. They're on calls every single day. And now, granted, that's 5 times a week. If you can't, then you can listen to them. But, even if you're not in that program, every day you're doing the best you can in order to get the desired result. And the best you can based on your particular circumstances. In this particular client's circumstances, he has the availability to get on the phone with us every day. So even if he doesn't have a question, he's going to sit there and do his work and listen in the background. So you got to figure out what your resources are and push as hard as you can to do your best with these leads, because any one lead could be a $15,000 deal. Now, sometimes a little bit of luck, because as I said before, if you're only getting 30 leads a month. And so if we're using an average of 50 leads to get a deal, then the 50th lead will be on the second month. However, you could be on either side of that equation. It could be that the 10th lead that comes in is an amazing opportunity and that becomes your deal. So guess what? You got a deal in the first month. It could be that the 60th lead is your deal. Because remember, we're looking at a number of 50 leads average. So it could be more or it could be less. If you're not that great on the phone, then it could be more for you. So you have to keep that into consideration. And again, I'm telling you these things because, again, it's very easy for me to take and showcase a result like this and say, oh my gosh, this is exactly what we can do for you. But then if you came in as a client, then you have really bad expectations. You're like, Chico, I got 5 leads. I didn't get a deal. What's wrong? And then we have to, shake you up a little bit and put you in the right mindset. So that's why I'm saying that. And so the reason is long-term thinking. You got to come into this, right? You can't do this sort of marketing and advertising and come into it thinking, oh, I'm going to generate 20 leads. And if it doesn't work out, I'm going to leave. That's a problem. You might as well not even start. You got to come in thinking, I'm going to come in and I'm going to generate 100, 120, 150 leads. And I'm going to work those leads to the bone. I mean, there is no meat left on those chicken wings. You know what I mean? If you're that kind of person, let me know in the comments if you're that kind of person. You got to work them to the bone where there's nothing left behind. And you got to also build up your skills, meaning you're going to build now I always talk about you got to sound great on the phone. Part of this, part of some of these things here are going to be automatically fixed by the sheer number of the leads that you have here. Because if you're coming in on if say you start off on day zero running Facebook ads for motivated sellers, and then you sound horrible, you just sound so bad. However, if you do the work required, if every day you show up, if every day you make calls, if every day you practice your script, if every day you're attentive to the fact that, oh, I sounded horrible, but tomorrow I'm going to try to sound better. But even if you didn't have that level of awareness, by the sheer fact that you have spoken with 150 leads, you're going to get better. You are going to get better. Now, you may not be Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street, but you're sure as hell going to be a lot better than you were 30 days ago, a lot better than you were 60 days ago, etc. And so that's the other thing that is something to consider, because I believe here, and also before I get into my last point, analyze deals correctly, right? Again, once you fix the lead generation problem, now you've got other problems that you never knew you had. And we get this all the time. I'm going to turn that off for a second to tell you two more things here. Here's what I find. Number one is, like, what I do is I fix your lead generation problem. You no longer have a lead generation problem. You no longer have to cold call. You have leads coming in every single day. Depending on your budget, as you saw there, some days was blank. It doesn't matter. You're staying the course. You're doing the work required. You've got leads. But now, once you have leads, and now you no longer have to worry about that, you realize that there's a lot of other problems you have. You have I can't talk to sellers right. I can't analyze deals correctly. I have a discipline problem. And all those things will get fixed from the practice of doing everything that's required here. All right. And so the biggest thing that you could do as a real estate investor, as a real estate wholesaler right now, if you're struggling in any capacity to get deals done, to get your first deal, maybe you've done a deal here or there, is you got to figure out a way to fix your lead generation problem. When I first started as a real estate investor, I struggled, much like probably you're struggling. And I was struggling because I was attacking a bunch of different things. And when the thing that made the difference for me is when I decided I'm going to focus on one way of finding leads, and I'm going to become a master at that. And I did that with direct mail back at the time. I'm no longer doing direct mail. But when I did that, all of a sudden everything changed. I went from barely making any money to 6 months later making $110,000 in a single month. And it only happened because of the fact that I was able to figure out a way to get leads. I figured out a system that would get me leads consistently. It would remove now that whole mental, the bandwidth that was pushed toward, I got to figure out a way to get leads. How do I get leads? How do I get leads? And then now I could focus on the other parts of the business. I could focus on disposition. I could focus on property analysis. I can focus on getting better on the phone and working on my scripts and everything else. So for you, your main priority should be that you got to fix this lead generation problem. And it has to be something that works within the way that you like to work. Meaning that I may be here with you and you might see me as very gregarious and just, happy-go-lucky guy, like Chico must be the life of the party. But listen, I don't like to talk to humans. I don't like the minute and so for me, like one of the strategies that people were doing was door knocking. And I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. I'm not going to do this. And so I ended up figuring out that for me, I wanted inbound leads. I wanted warm prospects. I wanted people that reached out to me, and then all I did was call them and had a nice, pleasant conversation with them. And I wanted to have a system where things were working in the background, meaning that whatever I was doing throughout the day, there were people that were receiving my postcards at the time. In this scenario here, there's ads that are running continuously 24/7. And so that's working in the background and I'm doing something else. I'm not slaving away on that phone trying to figure out, trying to get a lead because I'm cold calling for 2 or 3 hours a day and getting yelled at. That wasn't for me. And so if you like that, God bless you. But that wasn't for me. And so I want to encourage you to understand that you have to make an investment when it comes to lead generation. The investment is likely not as much as maybe you thought it was. Number two is that you have to think of it long term. You have to go into this that you need a certain number of leads in order to see this through. That you may not be that great in the beginning, but you are going to get better later on. And all that around the big umbrella that you got to fix your lead generation problem and make it so that now that is one less thing that you have to worry about, because when that happens, everything changes for you. Now, if you're interested to know more about how we run ads and campaigns, etc., check out one of these videos. I never know where they're going to show up. And that way you could also learn what we do. But most importantly, if you need our help, click the link in the description and reach out to us about our partner program so we can set this up for you, help you do the deals, and even help you sell them.